Howdy everybody, Steve here, KM9G. Today we're going to do a technical review bench work with the BTEC AMP25. This is the digital version which will allow you to do analog as well as DMR through the amplifier. So if you want to do some simplex DMR communication, this is the ticket. If you want to do some analog communication, this is the ticket. This thing's pretty fantastic. This turns your 5-watt HT into it says 25, and then it says 30 to 40, but we'll see in the video that we're gonna get a lot more power out of that. Let's get over to the workbench and see what's inside the box. My friends over at BTEC sent me the AMP25. This should be, yes, it is, the AMP V25D. So this will do DMR as well as analog, and it is the V model, so VHF only, which is kind of interesting. We can persevere and we can get around this. This amplifier is rated at 25, but we'll probably do somewhere between 30 and 40. We will test that out later on, but first I want to get it out of the box. And the reason why I want to do an unboxing is mostly because there's a lot of stuff in here that you don't know comes in here, and you may or may not need to get extra stuff. And here is how you will find out. So first off, the box is pretty colorful. I like that, but very odd to me is that this is the way you look at it, and then you have to kind of turn it around to open it up. Not a deal breaker, not a big deal, just, I don't know, it's just weird to me. This is pretty neat. This is a K1 to K1 adapter cable. On one end is a K1 connector, and on the other end is a K1 connector. It's a K1 to K1 adapter cable, like I said. This is how you would hook up, this is one of the many ways that you can hook up this amplifier to your radio, and there are many ways. This is an SMA extension cable, and it's SMA male on both ends. Ta-da! And if your radio doesn't have, this is why the unboxing is important. If your radio doesn't have an SMA male on one end, we got you covered, don't worry. Instruction manual. I've read through this a little bit just to check on the way to hook this amplifier up. You do not want to be messing with amplifiers and hook them up wrong, because you can destroy your radio, or you can destroy the amplifier, or you can be real dirty on the band. So always be careful with an amplifier. This is the amp itself. There's very little controls. There's an on-off switch, power light, TX, alarm, microphone. That's one of the K connectors. That is the K connector. This goes to your antenna, and then this comes from your radio. For power, this is where it gets kind of interesting. For power, you'll need this T connector, which goes to a cigarette lighter adapter, or you can cut this off and put on your own power poles. Or what I would recommend you do if you don't have this thing set up is I would go about halfway down the length of the wire, or all the way down the length of the wire, and I would put power poles on here on two sides, so I can disconnect this from this and hook it into my desktop power supply, or I can connect that back together and hook it into my car and be good to go. There is a mounting bracket, and then check this microphone out. This is a quality piece of kit here. It doesn't really feel all that lightweight. It feels like it's pretty good. What is behind this connector here? Okay, so this is a RJ45 connector on this end. So this is probably a microphone that we have all seen before on other bigger radios. And on the far end, not an RJ45, I forget what this is called, but it's a 6-conductor cable. We have in here, this is where I was telling you, this is why it's important to see what's in the box. We have an SMA male to female adapter. So now I can actually plug this thing into my radio and complete the test. Ta-da! And then some screws for the mounting bracket, and then a microphone mounting bracket to mount on your desk or your workbench or in your car or wherever you happen to be desiring to be operating. All right, we'll put the instruction manual back in. I will definitely need the amplifier. What else I will need is my BTEC 6x2. So I'm gonna go get that, and then we will get this thing all plugged in. All right, from my 2-meter EDC kit, I am going to pull out my BTEC 6x2, done. And since this thing uses its own antenna, the SMA cable, I won't need to pull the antenna out. And because I am a professional ham radio operator, I already have a cable that goes from T connector to power pole, so I will use that while I am in my shack. So that plugs in there, and then we have our antenna wire plugged into our radio, and then on the back, we will plug that into our amplifier. I'm going to get this plugged in, I'm going to get the camera rearranged, and we will give it an on-air test. There's still possibly 1 or 2 more ways we can configure this, so let's get after it. I'm trying to reach we call this the 2585 repeater, and this repeater is pretty far from me. I should be able to reach it with the amplifier, but I cannot reach it with the HT at all. You can hear nothing going on and the amplifier is not on. Only send VHF signals through it to make sure you don't cause any damage. We are on high power. You can see by the T in the upper corner there. You see by the T up there, and we're not making it out. So I am now going to turn on the amplifier. And you hold down the button for a little while, and you hear that tone, and you see the green light is on. I'm going to turn the power down on this. And I'm getting APRS signals because it's APRS Thursday. Channel set. TX power. I'm going to set that down to low. I'm going to go back, 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 exit. I'm going to switch VFOs, and I'm going to change this to 146520000. So that doesn't bother us anymore. Set up to send APRS out on that channel. So I just sent out an APRS packet on VFO A. Well, luckily it's got my call sign in it, so it's not against the rules, it's just not nice. Okay, so now we're back on that repeater, and you can see that it lit up when we did that before. I'm going to go ahead and transmit again and see if I can open that repeater now. And we know the volume's working. And we know that their amplifier's working, but I'm still not getting heard on the far end. So let's go in and change power higher. I'm not hearing anything there. Let's change power higher yet. And you can see the power setting up here by the H at the top corner of the screen. Nothing yet. All right, we got the repeater tail. I'm at turbo mode, which is 7 watts in, and then 7 watts gets amplified out. So at 6 watts in, you get 40 watts out. We were finally able to get a signal out that way. Kilo Mike 9 Golf. Can I get a radio check, please? Kilo Mike 9 Golf on the 2585 repeater. Looking for a radio check. Radio check, please. Kilo Mike 9 Golf, KM9G, Kilo Mike 9 Golf. Looking for a radio check on the 2585 repeater, please. So we're getting the repeater tail, which technically means that it's working, but I'd like to hear somebody come back with a signal report. This is Kilo Mike 9 Golf. I'm testing an amplifier and an antenna, looking to get a signal report, please. Well, we'll keep trying because we have a couple of other settings that we want to check out here, because I want to check out this microphone. So first thing I want to do...
Coming through loud and clear.
There we go.
Rose Red Seal.
All right, Roger, Roger. Thank you very much for the radio check there. Much appreciated. Okay.
What's your QTH?
I am in Luck, Wisconsin. I'm using a BTEC 6x2, which is a 7-watt transmitter, and it's going into an amplifier, which should be putting out somewhere around 40 watts to get over to you guys.
Okay, very good. Sounds good.
All right, I appreciate it. This is Kilo Mike 9 Golf. I'm going to test out a couple more things with this amp. I've got a couple different ways to trigger the PTT on this that I'm going to test out next.
Sounds good. M0, Red Seal.
All right, so microphone in the microphone hole, and then we need to connect this back, because right now this microphone will not do anything because it hasn't talked to the radio. And that's where this K connector comes in. So let's do the K connector. K connector on the front of the radio, K connector on the side of the radio. And so as you can imagine, you can take this radio and hide it off in your cup holder, and you can take this amplifier and hide it under the seat somewhere, and then all you would have is the speaker mic coming back. This is Kilo Mike 9 Golf, checking out the speaker mic option through the amplifier. Anybody can hear me?
Yep, still coming through loud and clear.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much for your assistance with the test. Okay, we are now adjusted for a power test. We have the MFJ 849 power meter here, and we have the cell wave dummy load up here, and we're going to test this thing on its different level of power settings. So we are so on the turbo setting on the BTEC 6x2, we get 55.54 watts out. That's amazing. Let's go down and change the settings to the next lower power setting. TX power, high, select. And we're at 55.09. Let's change the power setting to the next lower setting. 47.0 on medium power, and then on low power, 20.9. This thing sports a 4-watt internal speaker in the unit. You heard it in the video earlier. Comes in a variety of flavors. This is VHF analog only. Then you have VHF digital, which does digital and analog. As you'd expect, there is UHF analog only, as well as UHF analog and digital. And to my surprise, they even have a 220 megahertz analog only model. Links in the description down below. That was pretty interesting watching the power roll up as the signals finally got over to the repeater. That repeater is quite a distance away. I'm pretty amazed that it was able to be opened up on this handy talkie. It normally doesn't do that, so that's pretty fantastic. What are some use cases for this thing? Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this thing will interface with just about any HT that uses a SMA connector, or if you're capable enough, and I know you are, you can get this thing to work with just about any radio that puts out a 2-meter VHF signal. So now I've got a 50-watt VHF amp for my IC705. Ooh, that's going to open up some possibilities for some digital modes that I might want to play with in the future. But it will work with your Baofeng HTs, it'll work with your BTEC HTs, it'll work with any HT that's got an SMA connector and puts out a VHF signal. If you have a K connector on the side of the radio, and again, I know you're smart enough to make an adapter if you wanted to, you can also get this to control PTT from the amplifier and use that nice hand mic. So lots and lots and lots of options available for this thing. I'm pretty impressed so far. I'm gonna go put this to the test with some more integrations into more of my ham radio lifestyle. And if there's anything amazing about it, I'm sure there will be, there'll be a video in the future, so be sure to be subscribed for that. In the meantime, there's a video right here I think you'll enjoy next. Thanks for being awesome. I'll see you over there.